Hey guys, my name is Melusi, and today we finally know all the details about the new season coming to Rainbow Six Siege with Operation Steel Wave. I had a chance to play with the new operators a little bit early, and I gotta admit that I have a feeling they're gonna be pretty powerful. On offense, we have Ace. He is a new hard breacher being introduced, and the way that he works is that he has access to 3 Selma gadgets. He can throw them at any soft or reinforced wall, and then it will open up a small, what looks like Habana hole. Now, by itself, that seems like it'd be halfway decent, essentially an alternative to Habana. But it goes even further. After it's made that initial hole, if there is space, the gadget will then proceed to roll down and then open up another one. It will do this 3 times until you have essentially a large hole that you and your team can then pass on through into the objective. And so if defense does nothing about Ace, he can open up 3 giant holes onto the objective through reinforced walls. What makes him so powerful, though, is that it's going to be very difficult to stop him, even if you're trying to use something like the bandit trick. Because he doesn't have to go through a lengthy animation like all of the other characters in the game, he can just simply toss these out. He can put 3 of them on a garage door, spread them out a little bit, and there's no way that the bandit is going to be able to stop every single one of them. He might be able to slow them down slightly, but one of those is going to go through the complete animation, and then offense is going to have a clear line of sight and a way to get into the building. I will admit my initial reaction to Ace, and I'm sure that many of you guys are thinking this right now, is that he sounds like he's going to make all other hard breachers obsolete. Like, why would you want to play as anyone else? Thankfully, he does have a fair amount of counters. One strategy that we were employing a lot was using impact nades. As soon as he opened up a small hole, you would throw this out and then destroy his gadget on the other side. Granted, you still now have a hole in the wall that you're going to have to deal with on defense, so they can see you if you're not paying attention, but at least they don't have a direct way to get into the objective room. And so that was one great aspect about this. There's going to be more interactivity between offense and defense with this character, which I don't necessarily think is a bad thing. On top of that, and probably one of his biggest weaknesses, is that he's not really all that great at getting through hatches. You have to use 2 of his Selma gadget to be able to get on through. And so it seems like what Ubisoft is trying to achieve with someone like Ace is that they're trying to define roles amongst the hard breachers. If you want to get through hatches, then you're going to want to play as Habana. If you need to get through a big reinforcement, then Ace is going to be your guy. Or if you want something in between with more flexibility, then Thermite is going to be a better option. What makes it a little bit more interesting, though, and the reason why I said I think Ace is going to be quite strong, is that he can also use this to just simply take out other gadgets. You see a deployable shield, you want to get by it, you don't have to rely on your Ash or your Sledge to throw an aid on in there. Just throw this directly on top of it and it will take it out by itself. He's going to be a utility removal as well. Now, granted, he can also be countered by someone like Jaeger and Wamai, and so you have to take that in consideration because this is a throwable object. It can be zapped out of the air, but he's also going to have that capability. And so just in general, I think that he is going to be a very interesting addition into Rainbow Six Siege. He also has access to Fuse's primary weapon, which is really powerful considering that he is a 2 armor, 2 speed character, and with that combination, I think that he's going to be a force to be reckoned with in the right hands. Now, obviously, it's way too early to tell. We're going to have to wait a couple of weeks to find out how he fits into the meta, but so far, his kit seems really strong. Moving on over to the defensive side of things, we have Melusi. The way that she works is that she can place down her Banshee gadget, which is going to emit a slow field. If you enter into it, it's going to slow down your movements. The closer you are to the gadget on offense, the slower your progress is going to be. Now, it's not going to just stop you in your tracks. To my understanding, it's only going to slow you about as much as barbed wire, but it's a much larger area. On top of that, though, and what makes it even stronger is that it makes a very loud noise when you're passing through. It kind of sounds like you just stepped into a Christopher Nolan movie. It's very obvious. And so any defender in the area is going to know that you're nearby. I was easily able to take out multiple players because of this gadget specifically. Just like with Legion, it kind of watches your back and lets you know if someone's trying to push on in, and for that very reason, I think that she is going to be a really cool addition to the defensive side. Now, it is worth noting that the only way you're going to be able to dispatch of this is to run up and melee it, which obviously is going to be a bit difficult because of that slow effect, or to use your nades and other gadgets to be able to take it out that way, like every other thing in the game. What I like about it, though, is that I felt like there was a little bit more interactivity between offense and defense. If you step on a goo, you probably didn't realize that it was there, or Ella activates her gadget, you're now stunned, your sensitivity is reduced, and it feels like everything has been taken out of your control. And while you're still going to be at a disadvantage when you're passing through the Banshee gadget, don't get me wrong, you can sort of play mind games with offense. I was already noticing players were going into the field, we would hear it go off, they would go prone on the fringe of it, and so when you rounded the corner to try to take out the person who you thought was going to be just standing there out in the open moving slowly, they had a free takedown against you. Because you know exactly where it is, you're not stepping on a goo and now responding to a situation that you weren't kind of thrusted into, you're the ones that's setting the parameter because you have the information. I thought that was a really cool dynamic. Now, probably my favorite change that's coming with this season, though, is that Amaru is getting a gigantic upgrade. As we all know, Amaru isn't really in a good place right now because she can't even really use her speed to her advantage. If she wants to fly through a window, everyone's gonna know that she's there and promptly take her out. Not only because the barricade opens on up, so it's very clear that she's about to fly on in, but then when she lands, it takes her about 2 seconds to move, but also to bring up her weapon. And so anyone in the vicinity is going to be able to take her out. That is changing with this season. Not only will the barricade no longer break until she's about to fly on in, but as soon as she lands, she can move almost instantaneously and retaliate to what's happening around her. She is going to be terrifying. If all that wasn't enough, though, the cherry on top is that you're now going to be able to use her grappling hook to open up hatches from below and then immediately fly on in. Before, you'd have to switch it over to your secondary shotty, open up the hatch, switch it over to her gadget, go through the animation. It was clear that you were doing that, and anyone nearby was going to be able to take you out. Like, that's the reason why she was so lackluster. That is no longer going to be a hindrance. Switching over to the grappling hook, look up at that hatch that is intact. As long as it's not reinforced, you're good to go. You're gonna fly on in, it's gonna rip it down, and now you're in, hopefully causing and wreaking havoc amongst the defensive team. And while it's too early to tell if she's gonna skyrocket to becoming one of the better operators on offense, it's clear that she's going to be way more enjoyable than she was before, and those Amaru players out there are finally gonna have the satisfaction and really the character that I think that we were expecting from day one. The final thing I think that is worth noting is that they're adding in a brand new secondary gadget, which is the sound alarm. It's very simple and works pretty much the way that you would assume it would. Anyone that walks within the vicinity is going to start to beep and notify you that someone is in that area. And you can place this basically in any location. You can toss it on the ceiling, you can put it behind an object, you can throw it on the ground. It has that versatility and is going to be something that offense is going to have to watch out for. Now, granted, you are having to give up impact nades and people are going to have to weigh the pros and cons of doing so, but I think that that would be a good system. You don't want to have one gadget only being the preferred or the best option for a character, and having an option that does give you some pause, I think is a healthy addition for the longevity of Rainbow Six Siege. The last thing, because I forgot about the house rework for some reason, is that house got a rework. A lot of people were looking forward to it. Some people were a little hesitant because they didn't want it to be a brand new map. A lot of people enjoy the old house and they were a little concerned. And I'm happy to say that a lot of the layouts and a lot of what you enjoyed about the old map is still here. They added a couple of rooms here and there on the first and the second floor, but by and large, it's still going to be house. Now, is it going to be competitive? It's hard to say. Some people are advocating that we should be able to play this in ranked for a couple of weeks just to see if it could be in the ranked rotation. I don't really know. It may be still too small, but I think it's going to be that fast fast-paced gameplay that a lot of people kind of grew and loved about this map from the very beginning. In general, though, I cannot wait for Operation Steel Wave. One thing that has been a bit disappointing about previous seasons is that while I'm glad that a lot of the operators aren't just blatantly overpowered, many of them have felt lackluster and haven't really changed up the game in a meaningful way. I think that is going to be changing with this season. I'm hoping that they're not going to be game-breaking. That wasn't my real impression of them, but it seems like they're finally going to have more of a footprint and more of an impact on the meta itself, and so I'm excited to see where all this leads. Let me know what you guys thought about all of this information, though. Is there an operator that you're more excited about, Ace or Melusi? Do you think that Amaru is finally going to be viable? Give me your guys' thoughts down below. But yeah, guys, until next time, have a good one, and take it easy.